It's Thursday, September 24th. This is the Hermetic Hour, and tonight we present a live broadcast of the Festival of Seven Gates, Astarte's descent into the underworld to resurrect Prince Baal. This is our 46th annual performance of this ancient autumn equinox rite, which was inspired by Ishtar's descent and Princess Salome's Dance of the Seven Veils. So, tune in and celebrate with us, as Astarte says to the Dark Lord, 7 veils I left behind me on the gates through which I passed. 7 treasures given dearly, but I freely yield the last. For my hidden veil is darkness, where the final secrets lie. In thy pride thou hast forgotten, even death must surely die. And so, turning to our seasonal ceremony book, which most of you members should have, and certainly the cast tonight has, the henge of 8 menhirs is erected with the alchemical altar in the center. There are lights on the Mars east, the Venus south, and Moon west, and Saturn north menhirs. A sword hangs on the Mars menhir. Upon the altar is an ampulla, an incense boat, an air dagger, a bell, and a thurible with a fire laid. The celebrants are gathered in the place of assembly east of the henge by the Odos, who reads the prologue, by candle or torchlight, before the procession to the henge. To the west of the henge, Baal reposes on a bench covered by a shroud. Now, I'll read the dramatis personae and check and see if they're all here. Odos the Bard will be played by Frater Memnonides. Are you here?
I am present.
Thank you. Lord of the Vines will be played by Frater Sithmeth. Are you here?
I'm here.
Oh, good. And there's a deacon who performs the pentagram ritual. Lady of the Field, that should be very honored Sister Urania. Are you on board?
I'm here, Poke.
Oh, that's wonderful. And Astarte, the Queen of Heaven, will be very honored Sister Elabel. Are you there?
I am, Poke.
Thank you. And we have portal guards. Portal guard number 1 is for the female planets, and that will be Sister Morgana. Are you with us and ready to go, Sister Morgana?
Yes.
Oh, excellent. And the portal guard number 2, they'll be for the male planets, and I'll do that myself. And Moat, Lord of the Underworld. Frater Solomon, are you on board yet? Well, if you're not, I may have to do that myself. And Baal, the Prince of the Earth. That would be very honored Frater Hephaestus. Are you with us?
I'm here, Poke.
Excellent. And Astarte may have a female attendant who beats a tambourine. And when I went down to get the tambourine, I let the cat out, unfortunately. But I do have the tambourine, and so I'll do that. Okay. So we'll gather all of the celebrants. If we're doing it at Rivendell, they'll be across the bridge, gathered around the bridge, and the Odos will read the prologue. I will delegate that to very honored Frater Memnonides. Will you read the prologue for us?
I surely shall. The Festival of the Seven Gates at Autumn Equinox. The drama depicts the descent of Astarte into the underworld to vanquish the Dark Lord Moat and to resurrect the Year King Baal. Thus, opening the fall season of rains on the western quadrant of the magical circle, which is ruled by the principle of water and the philosophical element of Mercury, symbolizing the process of solution, second of the 4 primal operations of alchemy, accomplishing the reanimation of the spirit through the cycle of rebirth. Hearken now unto the myth of the sacred year. It was written in the dawn of the age of Aries, in the years when Melchizedek was priest-king in Salem, a tale older than the walls of Jericho, of how fair Astarte, queen of heaven, wept and mourned for Prince Baal, her consort, slain by the dark Lord Moat, when all the world lay parched and withered under the torch of the gods at high summer. Then she appeared unto the people at summer solstice, swearing an oath to vanquish the Lord of Death, milling, grinding, and casting him into the field. She did also promise to revive Lord Baal, Cloud Rider, to rule again with the sun's return in the winter season. And so she made request of Father El, High King of all the gods, who reigns supreme upon the summit of Mount Zephon, that he give her the chalice, the grail chalice filled with the golden elixir vitae of rebirth, so that she might carry it down through the spheres of the holy tree of life, into the caverns of the underworld, and there confront the Lord of Death, forcing him to give up his hold on Prince Baal, the Thunderer. All-wise Father El did grant her boon under the condition that she leave one of her 7 veils of a color symbolizing the power of the sphere at each of the celestial gates on her descent as a token of sacrifice. Only the black veil of mystery would remain to clothe her when she faced the Dark Lord. And so began the sacred dance of the 7 veils. So it was, so it is, and so shall it be.
Following the prologue, the celebrants are lined up in the place of assembly east of the henge, facing north, holding hands in the Greek key grip, with men and women alternating. Vine leads the march with Field at the rear of the column. Vine calls the verses of the entrance chant, and the celebrants repeat each verse as they process westward to wind Deosil around the outside of the henge. Now, before we start this, let me say that we tried to do this, these chants in unison, but unfortunately we got a feedback problem. So actually, I'm just going to let Frater Sithmath just recite the chant, and then I'll call a repeat. Let's do it that way. All right. If you'll start off, Frater Sithmath.
The year king slumbers in his tomb. All the world is fraught with gloom.
Oh, the year king slumbers in his tomb. All the world is fraught with gloom.
Call the goddess from above. She can conquer death with love.
Call the goddess from above. She can conquer death with love. Aima Noga, Aima Malka. Field and Vine join hands, completing the circle. They continue to recite the chant and lead the celebrants around the henge until they both stop at the gate of men, between the lunar and zodiac menhirs. Field and Vine enter the henge. Vine moves to the east. Field moves to the west. They face each other across the altar. The Odos enters to recite or sing the Orphic hymn to Pluto, and this is Thomas Taylor's translation. Odos?
Pluto magnanimous, whose realms profound are fixed beneath the firm and solid ground, in Tartarian plains remote from sight and wrapped forever in the depths of night. Terrestrial Jove, thy sacred ear incline, and please accept thy mystic's hymn divine. Earth's keys to thee, illustrious king, belong, in secret gates unlocking, deep and strong. 'Tis thine abundant annual fruits to bear, for needy mortals are thy constant care. To thee, great king, Avernus is assigned, the seat of gods, the basis of mankind. Thy throne is fixed in Hades' dismal plain, distant, unknown to rest, where darkness reigns, where destitute of breath pale spectres dwell, in endless dire inexorable hell. And in dread Acheron, whose depths obscure earth's stable roots eternally secure, O mighty Daemon, whose decision dread the future fate determines of the dead, with captive Proserpine through grassy plains, drawn by for your car with lucid reins, wrapped o'er the deep, impelled by love you flew, till Eleusinia's city rose to view. There, in a wondrous cave, obscure and deep, the sacred maid secure from search you keep. The cave of Athes, whose wide gates display an entrance to the kingdoms void of day. Of unapparent works, thou art alone, the dispensator, visible and known. O power all-ruling, holy, honored light, these sacred poets and their hymns delight. Propitious to thy mystics' works incline, rejoicing come, for holy rites are thine.
The deacon enters and goes to the east and takes the sword from the Mars Menhir and performs an invoking lesser pentagram ritual using the pagan tetragrammaton Amashao formula in the eastern quadrant, which I will do. Ata malkut vegivora vegadula leolam amen. Amashao. And to the south, Adonai. And to the west, Aheya. And to the north, Ata Gebor Leolam Adonai. And then to the east. Before us, Raphael. Behind us, Gabriel. To our right hand, Michael. To our left hand, Oriel. For around us flame the pentagrams. And in column shines the six-rayed star. Atah Malkut Vegivura Vegadula Leolam. Amen. And the deacon exits. Vine lights the thurible and pours a few drops of scented oil onto the fire. And Vine says,
in alchemistical solution, let mercury and ash unite. Revive the purged and dormant spirit as the astral flame burns bright.
Field rings the bell to the quarters, starting in the west and circling Deasil. Vine follows her, acting as an acolyte, lighting the lamps on the menhirs as she recites the opening charge. Lady of the field.
Holy henge of cycling seasons, mighty millstone of the year, now measure day and darkness equal, as you mark the sun's career.
Lady of the field returns to the west, and Vine circles Deasil, returning to the east. Vine says,
we have searched the barren mountains. We have walked the dry, parched plain. Neither rose nor dove we saw there. Not a sign she comes again.
Field.
Yet the sun and stars are reckoned on this high and holy place. At the eastern gate of sunrise, here we pray to see her face.
Vine elevates a dagger and incense boat and serves incense. And Vine says,
with smoke of rose and sandal rising, we beseech thee to appear. Bring the grail from far Mount Zaphon, with El's blessing for the year.
He who rode the clouds has fallen. He who brought the rains is dead. In his tomb beyond the sunset, past the 7 gates of dread.
Vine.
Come ye forth, O fair Astarte, lead us where thy consort lies. Make thy journey girt for battle, so the thunder lord may rise.
Astarte appears. Someone's talking in the background somewhere. Please quiet them down. Astarte appears from the east and circles the henge daisil, carrying the grail and a torch. The goddess is preceded by a female attendant beating a tambourine. Astarte stops by the gate of men, field and vine, inside the henge. Each kneel to make the adoration sign. They rise to meet Astarte at the gate. She gives the grail to field and the torch to vine. Astarte says,
Faithful maid of fallow fields, ye shall bear the grail this day. Fruitful steward of laden vines, ye shall light us on our way.
Astarte turns to the celebrants and says,
Good children, take my hand and descend Mount Harmohed, through the portals ever westward to the kingdom of the dead.
Two masked portal guards enter and take their positions inside the henge. Outside the henge, Lord of the Vines takes the lead, holding the torch. He is followed by Astarte, and then Field carrying the grail. Vine starts the chant, and I'll repeat it. Go ahead, Vine. Vine.
Down and down the path we go, to the caverns far below, westward on beyond the pale, where we'll bear the Holy Grail.
Down and down the path we go, to the caverns far below, westward on beyond the pale, where we'll bear the Holy Grail. They circle the henge daisil. Vine stops just past the Saturn menhir. Astarte stands before the menhir. And the first portal guard says,
Who stands before the Saturnian gate? What power dost thou wield? What lord did send thee hither, and what payment dost thou yield?
Astarte?
Behold, Astarte, Queen of Heaven, Mother Asherat shall clear the way. I am on my Father's service. The veil of understanding shall I pay.
Astarte hangs the veil on the Saturn menhir. Portal guard number 1 moves to the Mars menhir, and all circumambulate and repeat the chant around the henge, stopping at the Jupiter menhir. Down and down the path we go, to the caverns far below, westward on beyond the pale, where we'll bear the Holy Grail. Who stands before the Jovian gate? What power dost thou wield? What lord did send thee hither, and what payment wast thou yield? Astarte.
Of heaven, Lord Dagon shall clear the way. I am on my Father's service. The veil of mercy shall I pay.
Astarte hangs a blue veil on the Jupiter menhir. And the portal guard number 2 moves to the Sun menhir, and all circumambulate and repeat the chant around the henge, stopping at the Mars menhir. And portal guard number 1 says,
Who stands
Morgana?
before the Martian gate? What power dost thou wield? What lord did
send thee hither?
Behold,
What
Astarte, Queen of Heaven, War maid Anath shall clear the way. I am on my Father's service, and the veil of power shall I pay.
Chant around the henge, stopping at the Sun menhir. And portal guard number 2 says, Who stands before the solar gate? What power dost thou wield? What lord did send thee hither, and what payment dost thou yield?
Behold, Astarte, Queen of Heaven, Lady Shamash shall clear the way. I am on my Father's service, and the veil of beauty shall I pay.
Astarte hangs a yellow veil on the Sun menhir. Portal guard number 2 moves to the Mercury menhir. All circumambulate and repeat the chant around the henge, stopping at the Venus menhir. And portal guard number 1 says,
Who stands before the Venusian gate? What power dost thou wield? What lord did send thee hither, and what payment dost thou yield?
Behold,
Astarte.
Astarte, Queen of Heaven, I myself shall clear the way. I am on my Father's service, and the veil of love shall I pay.
Astarte hangs a green veil on the Venus menhir. Portal guard number 1 moves to the moon menhir, and all circumambulate and repeat the chant around the henge, stopping at the Mercury menhir. Who stands before the mercurial gate? What power dost thou wield? What lord did send thee hither, and what payment dost thou yield?
I am on my Father's service, and the veil of knowledge shall I pay.
Astarte hangs an orange veil on the Mercury menhir. All circumambulate and repeat the chant around the henge, stopping at the lunar menhir. And portal guard number 1 says,
Who stands before the lunar gate? What power dost thou wield? What lord did send thee hither, and what payment dost thou yield?
Behold, Astarte, Queen of Heaven, Lady Tanit shall clear the way. I am on my Father's service, and the veil of dreams shall I pay.
Astarte hangs a violet veil on the lunar menhir. All circumambulate, repeating the chant, headed by Vine, who leads them away from the henge into a half circle facing west. Torches are lighted, illuminating Baal reclining on a black draped bench. A slow drum beat announces the entrance of Mott as he confronts Astarte. Welcome, star-born royal sister, to the nether world of gloom, where all is death and dissolution and the silence of the tomb. I am Moat, the lord of darkness. It is I who slew thy mate, and I charge one final payment before I close and seal thy fate. Astarte moves closer to Moat as she speaks. Astarte.
7 veils I left behind me at the gates through which I passed. 7 treasures given dearly, but I freely yield the last.
Astarte draws a black veil over his head.
For my hidden veil is darkness, where the final secrets lie. In thy pride thou hast forgotten, even death must surely die.
Moat sinks down to lie at her feet. Vine distributes barley to the celebrants. They pelt the fallen Moat with it, chanting, reap him, thresh him, parch him dry, mill him, grind him, death must die. Baal begins to show signs of life. Astarte takes the grail from Field and ministers to Baal. She offers him the grail. He takes it and he drinks. Astarte.
Behold, the prince lives.
Field and Vine kneel, making the adoration sign, saying, Field and Vine, Adonai HaMelech.
Adonai HaMelech.
Adonai HaMelech.
Astarte.
He who mounts the clouds is risen. Baal-Hadad now lives again. With his lightning and his thunder, he shall bring the winter rain.
Baal sits up, yawning and stretching. Baal says,
I have not been dead, but only sleeping, hardly longer than a wink. But I'll be up and rolling thunder once I've had another drink.
Astarte takes the cup from Baal, who has risen to his feet, and gives it back to Field. Astarte says,
Now share the grail with all our children. Thirsting souls need honey wine. Bear the holy goblet sunwise. Let our kiss be passed in thine.
Astarte kisses Vine while Baal kisses Field. Then the priest and priestess administer the sacrament to the celebrants. Vine serves the grail to the men, after which they receive the kiss from Field and vice versa. And as the two move along the line, the grail is presented with receive the Zrav Shemesh, and the kiss is given with receive the kiss of agape. When all have served, the grail is elevated by Field with the salutation, Atah Gibor Leolam Asherat. Vine then petitions, Then Vine petitions Baal and Astarte for permission to depart. Vine says,
May we go with your blessings.
May our blessings go with you.
Then go with you.
Vine has the celebrants take hands and leads them back to the hermitage or the place of assembly, calling the victory chant. And
Up and
go ahead,
up the path we go, from the caverns far below, down eastward toward the rising sun. Now the victory has been won.
as soon as the procession has been led back to its starting point, Vine should return to the henge and perform a banishing pentagram ritual, which we will let Vine do.
Ata Malkut Vegabura Vegudula Lelam. Amen. Amashao. Adonai. Ehea. Ata Gibora Lelam Adonai. Before us. Raphael. Behind us. Gabriel, at our right hand, Michael, at our left hand, Uriel, for about us flame the pentagram, and in column shines the sixth great star. Atta Malkut Vegubura Veguzula Leolam. Amen.
Adak Gibor Leolam Adonai, the work is finished, the henge is closed. And all of the celebrants will process into the hermitage for the feast and the Bardic Circle, if we had one. Now, that concludes the ceremony, and I want to thank our cast. I want to thank everybody for a very, very good, inspired reading and of it. And I want to announce that we are going to do our Moat Mass, which is very similar to Seven Gates. We're going to go down to the underworld on Halloween and visit Moat and the Lord of Darkness. I know we pelted him to death this time, but he's still down there. So we're going to go down. We're going to process down to the underworld on Halloween, and we're going to visit the Dark Lord Moat, and he's going to give us a libation, a drink from Lord Byron's Cup of Souls. And so we're going to do that on the Hermetic Hour, but we're also going to do it out in the henge too. So this concludes our presentation for this evening, and I want to thank everybody again. And we'll see you next week with another Hermetic broadcast. And meanwhile, good magic and happy vernal equinox. Not vernal equinox, autumn equinox. Okay, so that concludes it.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Have a nice
Good
evening.
night.
Well,
Thanks
everybody for a great job. Yeah, it sounded real good. Okay.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Gute Nacht.